Welcome back to Surface Unscripted. Look Welcome back to Surface Unscripted, people. We are back with our round 2 weekend roundup. No real upsets, to be honest. A couple of close games, a couple of controversial decisions. We'll get all up into it. Welcome to the boys, Brett Burns and Bria van Herps, joining us today. Once again, the full squad is back. Guys, overall, let's not even get into the games. Just overall, do you think it was a good weekend of rugby? In my opinion, I think it was very, very lackluster. I think it could have lived up to expectations a lot more.
Yeah, I'm saying yes and no. Lots of moments of, this is finally getting exciting. And then all of a sudden, the European teams just show what they're good for, playing boring rugby.
Yeah, look, I think the whole weekend will be defined by referees yet again not being held accountable. I mean, It's a reoccurring theme, and as a person that obviously has Scotsman family, Scottish family, I'm devastated for them. I just think it's terrible, and yeah, I'm so disappointed in the refereeing, and something has to be done soon.
I know it's always a touchy subject talking about the refereeing, right? Because now the Whistleblowers documentary has come out. I don't know if you guys have seen it, right? But we as South Africans all collectively don't like Nick Berry, just on a refereeing basis. And he went on to have one of the worst performances as a ref once again, right after the Whistleblowers has come out. I mean, blatant, stupid decisions just missed all over the pitch. I'm not blaming him for that final decision, because that's the TMO, right? So he could only award what he saw on the field, and he said he saw it's held up on the field. But obviously, with any form of common sense, that's a try. We can't blame that on Nick Berry, right? But blatant decisions that Nick Berry missed once again, and right after the Whistleblowers documentary came out, I don't think he did himself any favors this week.
Yeah, no, I'm actually not agreeing with what you just said. That last call, he literally told the TMO, I now see a grounding. I'm changing my decision from held up to a try because I saw the try being scored on the big screen. And then the TMO says, just wait, I need one more angle. And then the TMO convinced him otherwise. He should have overpowered the TMO and said, no, my decision is made. It's blatant, clearly. The whole crowd saw it on the big screen. There's the ball on the ground. That's a try. Scotland beat France at Murrayfield. So just keep your panties in a wad up in your TMO box because I've made my decision. Then he could have rectified the little bit of dignity he has of a good referee. But no, he didn't.
I mean, look, obviously we don't want to make this whole episode about referees. We want to get into the games, but ultimately just finishing off on the refs. People criticize us for having SAFers per se, for having this opinion against referees. But the thing is, it's not just against us. It's happening to other teams as well. And I mean, we're just a nation that will not take the rubbish. I mean, like seriously, like Brett said, overturn the decision. You are the referee on the field. No one has more power than you. They can give you an opinion, but blow what your heart says. And if your heart says I'm overturning it, then overturn it. So yeah, that's it from refs on my side. Let's talk some rugby now.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree. I didn't even hear that what Brett was talking about, but if that was the case, then I totally agree. He should have used his power to overturn that. But let's get into the rugby. I mean, because we already kind of gotten into it when Brett said Scotland got the victory. Now, obviously, Brevan, me and you did the predictions, right? And you went with Scotland and I went with France. I think we both did we didn't do a 4-point swing either way. But I've never been more disappointed in getting a prediction correct, if I could say it like that, because I kind of feel robbed for Scotland. They were by a country mile the better team on the day. Now, I know we always talk about the proper teams. They find a way to win the game at the end. France did not find a way to win that game at the end. I think Scotland will be disappointed that they conceded the try at the end, but they scored that try at the end. If that was South Africa, we would be in comment sections going crazy. All three of us on TikTok would go absolutely mad. What is your overall thoughts on the game, Brett?
So yeah, I enjoyed the game until they started playing, like you would say, ping pong, where they kicked to each other like 7,000 times, and that just ruined it a bit for me. But I've watched quite a few podcasts and TikToks and Instagram reels and all these things about how people are saying Scotland didn't do enough. They can't blame the ref for one decision. They literally did enough. They scored the winning try. They did everything in their power to win that game. And people are saying, no, you can't base it on one decision. Yes, you can. You literally scored the winning try. And sorry, I'm going back to this because since it happened, it's driving me insane that the world's not up in arms about this. But anyway, okay. So the game was fine. I think Scotland was the better team. The French are looking terrible. I think Aldrit is a terrible captain. He doesn't make the right calls. He needs to be replaced by anybody else in that squad. I mean, you can't. Some of his decisions just don't make sense to me. And yeah, I'm just basing that off my leadership experience. So other than that, yeah, bad luck for Scotland. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I feel the frustration as well because people have been saying, oh, Scotland should have had this done a long time before the final whistle. Yes, maybe they should have, but at the end of the day, like you said, they did enough. They did enough, regardless if they did it in the 80th minute or if they did it in the 55th minute. So that on its own is a slap in the face. And I think to answer your question, Brett, why no one is up in arms is because it's not a South Africa, it's not a New Zealand, it's not a Ireland and England, it's Scotland. And everyone thinks, oh, that we can just walk over Scotland, they won't care.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, it's rubbish because you know what? Just because one of the golden childs of in France in World Rugby, like so what? Like own up to your mistakes. And I know we see this in football where referees admit their mistakes after the game, even though nothing gets done about it. I think the same needs to happen here. An apology needs to be sent out because it's absolutely mind blowing. But other than that, like Aldrit, like you said, he's a good player, but the leadership just takes everything out of him. He's not the same person. I mean, we've seen it with a few South African players. When they're the captain, they kind of lose their edge to the game type thing. So, yeah, Aldrit is not the right man for that captaincy spot. So France are looking very poor without Dupont, and they cannot rely on him 24/7 because one day it's going to, well, it already is, but it's going to bite them in the arse like really badly.
Yeah, it's weird because France looked way better this game than they did against Ireland, and yet they looked very bad, which just tells you how bad they were against Ireland. And just to play a bit of devil's advocate, I think a lot of people feel that final try almost, it's fair that it got disallowed because of the Duan van der Merwe incident where at the high tackle on Gael Fiku didn't retract back to an onside position and then intercepted the pass to Tomo Ramos, who had no one in front of him. He just had to dive over into the corner. So that would have been a guaranteed 5 points to France as well, especially how Tomo Ramos kicks, he would have probably made it 7. So I think just to play a bit of devil's advocate, that is probably how the people weigh it up and say, okay, listen, both of them just got evened out and then France is the winners. But I don't think France takes away any confidence from this game whatsoever. I think this was the opportunity, and Brevan, me and you spoke about it, for them to really put up a statement victory, to say, listen, people are comparing us to Scotland. We'll show you we're in a different bracket. Okay, Scotland's playing well, but you're still not on our level. And Scotland could actually just prove that they might be better than France at the moment because they outplayed them from the get-go. It's France just got over the line, but they were at no points in the game were they the better team.
I agree. I completely agree. Let's move on from that game because I'm turning a new page in my life, and I'm going to be a calm person from now on. And this Scottish-French game is not helping my cause.
Yeah, just to round off on that game, Brett, you mentioned it with that kicking, the ping pong, right? That is a rule that has to be changed right now. Before this weekend of URC kicks off, obviously there's no Six Nations. Before this weekend kicks off, that rule has to be changed or gone or whatever. that is ridiculous because you had patches in that game which was very good rugby and patches which was very bad rugby. And when it comes to the very bad rugby, it was that 15 minutes of standstill ping pong that we saw in that game. But moving on, we got England versus Wales, 16-14. Brevan, give me your initial thoughts on that game.
I mean, I feel for Wales. I do, in the sense that we know they're not the greatest squad out there, but you know what? They're putting up a fight. They are, they put up a fight against Scotland after looking very poor. And then against England, they put up another fight. But it's just, again, we look at England. They were supposed to be so much better, the Six Nations, and they scraped through. Obviously, better defense in the second half. But yeah, I mean, just another game where you think England should be winning this a bit more comfortably, but at the same time, Wales are very mediocre as well. And like we're saying, we want to see more from these sides. But yeah, congrats, England. You pulled it off. I mean, coming from behind, and there's not much more I can really say.
Yeah, from my side, quickly, not the best game of rugby I've ever seen in my life. I did, however, feel that the Welsh were quite significantly better than the English in set plays, and especially in broken play. But also the English discipline did not help them. It looks a bit worse than it was. Like Chesham's yellow card for me wasn't a yellow card. I still can't get over that rule. But other than that, I think the score reflects the game. I think it's a low scoring game because it was a low performing game, if you will.
Yeah, very well said. The thing is, it kind of gave off the same vibe that the Welsh versus Scotland did last weekend, where it's like the first half Wales were better than England just because England's discipline wasn't there, and then I think in the second half England kind of dominated the Welsh at certain points in the game. Like if you think about the standout players in that game, you have to put your prop or give your respect to Tommy Rafell. That guy, 2 weekends in a row. He is a breakdown monster. Mm-hmm. And there's one guy that I kind of have to apologize to, because remember I said overrated doesn't mean he's bad. Freddie Stewart had the game of his life. Wow. Like, he was good under the eyeball, as always. But the things that he brought to the table on that game was absolutely crazy. I couldn't believe my eyes.
But now do that again for me, please. Do it again and do it again after that. I mean, it's all good. You're doing it against Wales, and we'll get to because I can only imagine the Irish are having a fat party there in Dublin, and that's cool. Do it. But they're going to go over the top with this victory over Italy we'll get to that. But at the same time, I want to see Freddie Stewart do this more because, like you said, I was criticizing him, but he had a massive game. But now show this elsewhere, please. Show this for Leicester. Show this for England against the All Blacks, against the Box. So that's just me.
So while I was watching the game, I was thinking, I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, why aren't you guys saying, Brett, you were right? Brett, oh, look, Freddie Stewart again. Oh, look at that. Brett, you were right again. I was waiting, but it didn't come until right now. Well, I still haven't heard, Brett, you were right, but...
we're not going to say you're right on one game, Brett.
I still called it, and I was right. So just show me the respect.
We try our best.
Fine, fair enough. But overall, like, I saw a tweet, and I reacted to it on my personal TikTok, right? Where there was a poll created where they asked, what is the biggest game in rugby between England and Wales and South Africa versus All Blacks? And I thought, listen, let's just calm down. Because I'm sure this guy wasn't that stupid to ask the question like that. Surely he meant, what is the biggest rivalry, right? Because we and the All Blacks, we have a big rivalry, but it's a respectful rivalry. Like, we banter each other and whatever, but it's a respectful rivalry. Where this one is like history and everything intertwined. It's just a fierce rivalry. But if you wanted to compare it as big games, wow, what a lackluster game overall that was in terms of big games. Like, if you talk about big games, it's always a blockbuster. If you talk about Ireland, France, South Africa, All Blacks, South Africa versus England, All Blacks versus England is always a big game. This was a horror show overall. That poll was disgraceful after looking at that game.
But why are they comparing those two? Rather throw in England, Scotland, which is 20 times bigger than in England, Wales. I mean, if you want to talk about history, those two countries have history. But I mean, England, Wales, can you really call that massive? I don't even think it gets into a top 5 derby.
So I think that person didn't have any content to post, and he thought, well, England's playing Wales this weekend. Let me say something ludicrous and let people make TikToks about it. So it kind of worked for him.
People make views about or get views for it. So it is what it is. We move on. Anyway, so let's move on to the final game, right? We had Ireland versus Italy. Literally just finished 36-0 for Ireland, and Brevin, we called it. We said, listen, Ireland's going to batter Italy, but it's not going to be by 50 to 60 points or anything. I think Italy didn't get any points on the scoreboard, but wow, their defense held up for large parts of the game. They didn't have too much attacking threat. Obviously, Ange Capuozzo here and there made something happen out of nothing, but overall dominant victory. There's not really anything surprising about the result, right?
No, nothing surprising at all. I mean, we knew Ireland would get over the line. I mean, personally, I said if it was a weaker side, it would be 20 plus. If it was a stronger side, but this was a bit more mixed. If I said if it was a stronger side, probably would have said 40 plus. But yeah, I mean, a mixed side, 6 changes, and they got what they did what they needed to do. I think Ireland didn't really get out of 3rd to 4th gear. I think they were just stagnant in that gear the whole game. And Italy, look, at the end of the day, they're a side that just doesn't have that it factor, and that's the end of it. Like they can be flashy at times, they can do some cool things here and there, they can show some passion in defense, but then they just crumble, and then they'll show a bit again and then crumble. So Italy will always be that side, but until they find that it factor where we know where it gets players up for it the whole game, they'll never get past these score lines. But like I said, job done for Ireland, and they're pretty much on their way to securing the Six Nations. But let's hope Scotland will have something to say about that. Hopefully the English can put up a bit of a game against the Irish, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think that Garbisi crumbled under pressure today. Firstly, when they missed that kick down the middle to go 3-0 up, no one to think of, and he tells the guy to put his hand there. So there's already shell-shocked in his mind. Like for me as a kicker, I can't, if I have to tell that guy to be there, yes, he's playing in your mind. Now it's full of a stadium that's packed. But what the shocker there was for me was, again, it comes down to captaincy. And I think that Italy needs a good leader, because there I would have kicked for touch 100%. They literally, the line out before that, they mauled. They only gained about 1 or 2 meters, but they still mauled in their own half. Then they got the ball out, played, penalty in their half. And so they're now on the front foot against the world number 2 side in the world, and you kick for goal because you're a cop-out. For me, I honestly would have kicked there. If you miss, you miss. If you lose the line out, you lose the line out. But you're still showing the willingness to play. And at the end of the game, it showed because they were pretty horrendous. And they don't have a fly-off. Garbisi is not good enough. And I think they need to somehow fast-track a guy like Reno Smith in that side from Benetton, because they need some flair. Because what's the guy at the back? He can't do it on his own.
Yeah. And in the end, the scoreline 36-0. I don't think Ireland dominated too much. I think Ireland also made a lot of mistakes, a lot of handling errors in this game, a lot of cynical errors at the breakdown and stuff. So I don't think this performance necessarily bothers Ireland too much. They got all the points that they could have possibly taken from this game. They move on, but it's not a statement victory. I think if this was England and England played Italy in the first game of it all, and they put up a scoreline of 36-0, you would say statement victory. But because you have that expectations of Ireland, you expect them to put up a much better performance. Even though Ireland's defense was Italy's defense was good, you have to give props to that. But you expect a bit more from Ireland in terms of execution. They didn't look like their fluent self today, right?
I agree. I completely agree.
I think with Ireland is, they have a system and it works for them. Like, I'll give them that. But it's a very repetitive system. I mean, we see now, even though Johnny Sexton's gone, it's the same thing. Throw the pass, then loop around. Like, it's the same thing over and over again. And while it's difficult to defend against, I get that. When you meet the likes of the Springboks and the All Blacks, they're going to be good enough to study that. So when the Irish come down to South Africa in July, they're going to have a bit more than what they're doing now. Same way we will have to adapt. But the Irish cannot just come to these places, or even for, say, in the World Cup, and just have one game plan. You need to be very versatile in the way you do things. So that whole system could get found out very soon, but it works for them. So give credit to them where it's due.
Yeah, I don't think it came down to knowing their system or not knowing their system. I think the Italians, they're not renowned for their rush defense. They're not renowned, and I think that's why Ireland played it again against Italy. It's because they know they have time. Because whenever Italy tries the rush defense, you normally get a back in the day, a Johnny Sexton that would stab a little kick over, especially when they play against a France or something with a quicker rush defense. So I think because it was Italy, I think they played that, and they just played open cards, because this is what we're going to do, try and defend this. And I think that will change when they come to South Africa, but also we have Tony Brown now, so it's going to be a whole new ball game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Italy is going to run away with the rest of the Six Nations, and we are kind of just looking forward to
Ireland, not Italy.
Ireland's going to run away with the Six Nations, and we're kind of just looking forward to them coming to tour to South Africa, because obviously the banter will be there, and that is truly to decide who is the best. Because every time I feel like there's a bit of a caveat after we play them at the end of the year. Obviously, our guys are out of going back to their franchise teams. Our guys are done and dusted, battered, bruised, injured, all of those types of things. But I think this is the perfect time in the middle of the year for them to come over to us.
Yes.
So everyone is excited for that little tour in is it June, right? July, yeah. So just to end off the video, I've got the table here, the current Six Nations standing, right? You've got Ireland in the lead, England in second, 2 points behind them, Scotland in third on 5 points, France in fourth, Wales in third, Wales in fifth, and Italy finally last. Any surprises? What do you think switches around heading into the next couple of rounds?
Revan, you can go first.
So, if we look at Ireland, obviously I think they'll stay there. I generally think that now they have it in their hands, they just need to carry on doing what they're doing. England, we've been battering them, but they lie second at the moment. And look, if England in 2 weeks' time come up against Scotland at Murrayfield and pull their finger, they could maybe cause an upset there, and that could basically secure the English their second place. You never know. I think it's going to be a very interesting battle between France, Scotland, and England to determine second, third, and fourth. I think Wales will finish fifth. I think Italy will take sixth, but we don't know that yet because Italy still have to play Wales, so we'll see there what happens. But yeah, I think at least the mid-table, or we say mid-table between Six Nations, but the mid-table is looking quite open, and I'd like to see quite a battle for that. It would be very cool to see possibly a Scotland get second, or even for that matter, an England get second instead of France. So we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, I actually agree with everything you've said there. I personally would like a massive upset somewhere. Like, I don't even know who, but there must be an upset, because every game so far, the score, like on my Super Brew, I've I'm bleeding again because it's so bloody predictable. It's all the things are exactly like they were scripted. Yeah, I was hoping that I got the Scottish game wrong now at the end, but I didn't. So I'm waiting for something to happen because at this point it's a snore fest, and the Northern Hemisphere are loving this. Like, I'm seeing all their posts and they're loving this, and this is the best rugby for them. And I'm like starting to twitch because it's mind numbing. So something needs to change. But then again, that's what they like. They like the boring stuff. So we'll see.
It's just like if we have to compare it to the rugby championship, right? Like, this feels a bit predictable at the moment. Like the one that's up in arms is England versus Scotland. Like, obviously we have the hope that Scotland also beats Ireland because we're just supporting Scotland, but we have to be real, and it doesn't look like that is going to happen. But in the rugby championship, you see so much more upsets happening. When South Africa plays New Zealand, if it's not in Auckland, you don't know who's winning that game before the game starts, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's in Auckland, you can just say, okay, fine, you can take this one, right? Because they haven't lost since 1920, right? But then, like, you think New Zealand is supposed to batter Argentina every single time, yet Argentina went to their soil and beat New Zealand. Somehow we always lose to Australia in Australia. Like, we beat them the previous time we played there, but our record there is horrific. So you can say, yes, we only have about 4 teams, right? But that just feels so much more. Who's going to take it? Obviously, it's always New Zealand that ends up winning the bloody thing, but we move on. Anyway. Thank you everyone for watching. We love and appreciate you guys. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. This is episode 37, boys. We have been on a rock and roll streak over here. Thank you very much, guys. See you next time. Sayonara.
Goodbye.